This is not just a wedding. This is a billion-dollar wedding. Private jets, gold-plated invitations, and a guest list that looks like the United Nations mixed with the Oscars. Even Justin Bieber performing live. Yes, billion-dollar weddings exist, and they are beyond imagination. In this video, we're going to find out how different this is from a $100 million royal wedding, or a $10 million modern American wedding. And how does all of that compare to a $1 hand-fasting ritual, the oldest and simplest wedding in history? So let's start from the very beginning, with a wedding that costs less than a cup of coffee. The oldest form of marriage ceremony in Europe was called handfasting. Unlike the billion-dollar celebrations we'll see later, this one required no money, no church, and no fancy clothes. All it needed were two people, a ribbon that costs $1, and witnesses. Handfasting comes from old Celtic and Norse traditions, going back thousands of years. The ritual was very simple. The couple would join hands and a cord or ribbon would be tied around them. This symbolised their union. In fact, the phrase tying the knot comes from this ancient practice. What makes it fascinating is that even though it cost nothing, it carried deep symbolic meaning. The couple's families or community would witness the joining, and that social recognition was enough. And here's something surprising. Handfasting's not gone. When actress Sarah Hyland, you might know her from Modern Family.
I made a website, and I tell people how to live. Get a latte in a mug. Drink ocean water.
Married Wells Adams, they included a hand-fasting ritual in their ceremony. Their co-star Jessie Tyler Ferguson officiated, and the ritual was woven into the vows. They chose hand-fasting to honour Hyland's Irish and Scottish roots, making the ceremony feel more personal and meaningful. So, for just $1, or even $0, you can have one of the oldest wedding ceremonies in human history. But of course, not everyone wants to keep it simple. Now let's jump to the $10 million wedding. To most people, that sounds outrageously expensive. But in the world of billionaires, it's practically casual spending. In 2025, one of the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, tied the knot with Lauren Sanchez in a wedding that looked more like a Hollywood premiere than a private ceremony. The price tag? More than $10 million. The venue? A whole city. Yes, they say he rented complete Venice, but perhaps that is exaggeration. Their multi-day celebration took place on San Giorgio Maggiore and at the Venetian Arsenal. Historic, elegant sites dripping in Renaissance architecture. A-list guests, from Leonardo DiCaprio to Bill Gates. The reception wasn't just decorated, it was transformed into a fantasy garden with walls of roses, crystal chandeliers, and a dance floor that glittered like starlight. Lauren's dress? A couture gown, valued in the hundreds of thousands, paired with jewellery that could rival a royal treasury. The flowers alone were said to cross the seven-figure mark, and live performances kept the night feeling like a private concert for the ultra-elite. And of course, the paparazzi coverage made it feel less like a wedding and more like a global event. But if we go 10 times higher to a $100 million wedding, that's when things start to get royal, literally. One of the most famous weddings of the modern era was the 2018 wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. While the official costs are debated, estimates place the event around $45 million to $60 million, with some reports pushing it closer to $100 million once you count everything. So what made it so expensive? First, security. Because this was a royal wedding, security was a top priority. Thousands of police officers were deployed, roads were blocked off, and even snipers were positioned on rooftops. This alone cost tens of millions of dollars. The venue was St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, a location with centuries of royal history. The ceremony was attended by about 600 guests, including celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, Serena Williams, and Elton John. The dress worn by Meghan Markle was a custom Givenchy gown, costing around $500,000. The couple also had a carriage procession through Windsor, which allowed the public to witness the event. But what really made it stand out was the global audience. An estimated 2 billion people watched the wedding on television and online. It wasn't just a private family celebration, it was a worldwide cultural moment. On top of that, the couple also asked for charitable donations instead of wedding gifts. They supported organisations focused on women's rights, clean water, and helping children in need. So in a way, the money spent on their wedding created ripple effects far beyond luxury. The Prince Harry wedding shows us what a $100 million wedding looks like. A blend of tradition, royalty, security, global attention, and of course a massive budget. But even this pales in comparison to the billion-dollar category. Because when billionaires marry, they spend on a scale that almost defies imagination. The most extravagant weddings in history belong to the Ambanis from India, one of the wealthiest families in the world. Their celebrations are so massive that they are often compared to the GDP of small countries. So what does a billion-dollar wedding look like? His youngest son, Anant Ambani, married Radhika merchant in what is widely considered the most expensive wedding in modern history, with costs ranging from $600 million to $1 billion. The celebrations began in Jamnagar, Gujarat, with a 3-day pre-wedding bash. From there, guests boarded a luxury cruise across the Mediterranean, stopping at ports in Italy and France, before the final ceremonies in Mumbai. One of the biggest expenses, star power. For this wedding, the lineup included Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, a host of Indian stars. Rihanna alone was reportedly paid $6 to $8 million for a single performance. Bieber charged $10 million. The wedding venues were transformed into floral wonderlands. At Antalya, florists built 60 animal sculptures, each made from 100,000 to 200,000 fresh flowers, imported from across the globe. In total, over 10 million flowers were used throughout the celebrations. The cost? Well into the tens of millions of dollars. Then came the food. Hundreds of chefs worked in rotation to deliver what might have been the most lavish dining experience ever staged. The guest list itself told a story of power and influence. Among those in attendance were Kim and Khloe Kardashian, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Ivanka Trump, Tony Blair, John Kerry, Priyanka Chopra, Shah Rukh Khan, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. For the Ambanis, it wasn't just a wedding. It was an opportunity to bring together the world's business, political, and entertainment elite under one roof. Even the invitations were extraordinary. Each invite was presented in a custom-made, jewel-encrusted box, complete with gifts and sweets, costing thousands of dollars per set. By the time the fireworks faded over Mumbai's skyline, the Anant Ambani Radhika merchant wedding had made history, not only as a love story, but as the pinnacle of modern luxury and influence. Yet for Mukesh Ambani, with a net worth of $123 billion, spending nearly $1 billion on his son's wedding was less than 1% of his fortune. A reminder of just how deep the Ambani empire runs. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a statement to the world that the Ambanis live in a league of their own. Next time, we'll be diving into an even wilder comparison. $1 weapons versus billion-dollar weapons. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. So hit subscribe and join us for the next big reveal.